Cold emailing, what people are overlooking is that
Cold email. So what you're completely overlooking is
cold email. What we might be completely overlooking.
The biggest thing that people overlook when cold emailing is...
So one of the biggest things that people completely overlook when it comes to cold email, it's not necessarily the copywriting, not the deliverability. It's not always who you're sending the email to, but it's what are you offering in your emails. So email volume is at an all-time high in terms of number of emails being sent per day. I think it's like 10 to 20 billion more emails are being sent than there were like 3 or 4 years ago. And so the reason why it's so important to have a unique offer in your cold emails, because everybody's getting hit up saying, hey, do you have time for a call? Or would you be open to learning more? Can we set 30 minutes on the calendar next week? And the reason why people aren't taking all these meetings is not only because it may not be relevant to them, but also because they don't have a ton of time. And this is a completely cold conversation. And so you have to warm them up. So try to have different offers early on in your sequence where you're saying, hey, do you mind if I just send you some more information? Or do you mind if I send you a video? Or, we have an event coming up. Do you mind if I invite you to that? And then later in the sequence or in your nurture campaigns, that's when, after you've warmed them up, you're eventually asking for that meeting after the initial offer. And so oftentimes people completely underestimate how important what you're actually offering in the cold email is beyond just a demo.
you don't need to write everything in your first cold email. The vast majority of responses you get are going to come after your first email. Withhold information in your first email and save it for your follow-up emails, because those are the ones that are going to generate responses. Focus on the problem in the first email. Focus on the solution in the second email. Share some content in the third email. Stop being so impatient. Play the long game with the way that you structure your sequences, follow-ups, emails, even your cold calls and your voicemails and your DMs. And you're going to see a lot more responses and those follow-up stages because you didn't spill your candy at the front door in your first touch point.
the user experience. And what I mean by that is the effort required to take action. So we want our prospect, when they get an email, to do 3 simple things. And it's good to actually think about it like this. One thing, we want them to open the email, we want them to read the email, and then we want them to reply. That's 3 actions that the prospect has to take. And when a person opens an email, they only spend about 10 to 11 seconds actually reading that open email according to Statista. So 1, we want a really good, compelling subject line that's 4 or 5 words or less. We want the email to be under 80 words. And we want a really clear call to action. So a way that you can make this really actionable is to reverse engineer the response. The ideal response that you want to an email is what? Sure, let's chat. Something along those variations, right? Something along those lines. How can you reverse engineer and write an email that would garner a response like that? Is your ask really clear? Are you limiting it to one ask? Is the email short, concise? Is it to the point? So what I want you to think about in your emails is how much mental caloric expenditure does the prospect have to put into the email to figure out what to do with it? Keep that as low as possible.
Preview text. Preview text is the first line of text in the body of your email. Now, on average, executives make the decision to delete an email within 3 seconds, just enough time to look at sender name, subject line, and preview text. So if your first line is introducing yourself or wishing them well or apologizing for your persistence, it's more likely than not that it will trigger your buyer's mental spam filter. Instead, lead with an observation about something their business is looking to achieve. It could sound like, notice that your CEO was talking about the goal to move up market. This shows the email is about them, not about us, right off the bat.
Thinking that your prospects actually care what your company does. What prospects actually care about in a cold email is if you're being relevant and if that relevancy is tied to context, to a problem that you could actually help them solve.
All right, so if you want to join me on the Outbound Squad, Outbound Sprint, I'm going to be talking about how to do really hyper-focused targeting to cherry pick the top 10% of accounts in your ICP to book meetings with. So join me in January. We're going to be covering a ton of stuff related to Sales Navigator, etc. So super excited. I'll see you guys there.